Good evening, all of you. Thanks for joining for a quick LinkedIn Live today. We've been talking over the last 2, 3 weeks, right, about what's in store for ASS and everything else. But I think today we have quite a special guest joining us, our own Ranjeet Mishra. Ranjeet, I think some of you would know him already, but he's been in the industry for so many years, worked across such a diverse with such a diverse problem statements, right? From I think if I remember correctly, it's everything from semiconductors to cyber ranges to academic innovation, now to a state level innovation, and also with us at the national level in terms of essentially show effectively conveying what we are doing and whatnot, right? So with that, I think it's so good to have Ranjit joining us today. We have curated quite a special interaction for us. Essentially, this is largely talking about our entire ecosystem as a whole, right? And India, maybe most of us are used to working in silos, right? I think I know of cases wherein within departments of colleges, people don't know what they're doing, what the other departments are doing, and I'm pretty sure all of us will have our own silos within the organization, right? So I think at a national level, we just wanted to understand from Ranjit's perspective, from his vantage point, key what he's saying and what he thinks is where this ecosystem is going and what we should be doing, right? So and what CySecK is doing specifically to bridge all these gaps. So we thought we'll have Ranjit on and then let Ranjit enlighten us with his experience, right? So with that, I think Ranjit, very warm welcome to you again on
Thank
this
you, Teja.
platform. And why
Thank
don't
you.
we just start with a very quick introduction and then we'll go from there.
Sure, Teja. Thank you so much. Really, very glad and happy to be with, coming back to family. Very happy to be here. So, yeah, I think so. If you talk about my background, I have a very, very complex, diversified background. I started my career in telecom, in telecom companies, some of the leading telecom companies. Fortunate to work with them. And then some of the Israeli startups, again, some complex solutions and products had worked with. Very happy to serve some of the national security agencies, classified agencies, through that tenure. And last 6 years, after my good stint with analog devices, where again I was part of a company where we had built nation level, two nation level, Singapore and Japan, cyber range.
Mhm.
Was very, very closely working with both the countries. We had built almost close to 1,000 cyber warriors, during this stint. And then obviously analog had its own flavor to cybersecurity. So we were serving on the hardware root of trust. So we served automotive sectors, automotive security, which was very upcoming sector. The
Mhm.
FPG analysis, which was
Mhm.
another sector, and had a good sort of experience exposure. And I see that there's a huge gap in some of these emerging sectors, right? So
Mhm.
yeah, overall I think so, the business flavor, these entrepreneurship experience, and then very tech R&D oriented companies, and right now serving state level center of excellence vision
Mhm.
mission in
Mhm.
cybersecurity, but with a very premium institute like in sort of science. So yeah, so I think so we have a good what to say opportunity, in terms of serving the entrepreneurs, the young startups, from a skill development perspective. I think there's so many engineers. We have to align them towards cybersecurity real skills, so that we address the gap in cybersecurity. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunity there, Teja. So happy to sort of chat with you and share my perspective and experience.
Great. Okay. That's thanks, Ranjit. That's good. So, a couple of questions that I want to ask you, right? I think at a broader national level, right? So, as of today, what are some of these collaboration opportunities that you see between, let's say, all the stakeholders, right? I think a lot of development that are happening recently, wherein government and industry are coming together and working together, right? But what are those areas that you feel that government, industry, and ecosystem, as well as academia and startup ecosystem, can work together in today's day and age and such a rapid pace of development, right? So, what are those areas that you see, Ranjit?
Yeah, I think so. We're very fortunate. My stint with IIT Kanpur, I had, privileged to work with some of the, at national level and at the National Security Council Secretariat level,
Mm,
where we got an opportunity to build India's first cybersecurity maturity model. Also
mhm,
worked with closely with the IIT Kanpur professors, researchers,
mm,
and then obviously the other side, the industry, right?
mm,
And if you look at the today's rapidly converging digital landscape, right? The
mm,
biggest opportunity in uplifting India's cyber resilience lie in how effectively we collaborate across government, industry,
mm,
academia, and the emerging tech innovators, right? We have to make sure that the tech innovators are aligned these three triad, right?
mm,
First, I think that first thing we should do is that we should jointly build a advanced, talent, cyber talent, and the R&D ecosystem,
mm,
especially in some of the emerging tech like AI security, because we
mm,
have seen the paradigm shift from attackers' perspective. They're using AI a lot.
mm,
Then
mhm,
the shift towards OT. So OT ICS security is another area
right.
we have to sort of build cyber talent. And then last but not the least, the quantum safe technologies, right? That's something which again we cannot ignore it.
Mm,
Secondly, a trusted real-time public-private threat intelligence grid, which can
mm,
dramatically improve our national response capabilities. Right, something this
mm,
which I always feel our threat intel sharing methodology is still very weak as a nation.
mm, mhm,
And
mhm,
third, as an India, as a country, we should accelerate into 5G, IoT, and smart mobility, and some of
mm,
the AI-led public infrastructure. So we need to co-create these some of the security frameworks around these, which are rapidly
mm,
growing these, 5G, IoT, and smart mobility, and
mm,
maybe create some sandbox environment with some
right.
of the startups and tech players, right?
Mhm,
So that we can sort of test, validate some of these indigenous products, right? And finally, we should also strengthen the state level readiness, like we are doing with Government of Karnataka. I'm
mm,
sure there are many states which would like to, build such an set of excellence, but I see that there's a huge gap there. And
mm,
we also need to support our MSME sector, with
mm,
accessible cyber solutions. This
mm,
will definitely raise the overall hygiene for our digital economy.
mm,
So if we
mm,
align these partnerships well, India
mm.
can not only secure its digital future, but also emerge as a global benchmark for cyber resilience.
Okay, that's interesting perspective. So, I mean, most of this, right? I think the unfortunate thing is bits and pieces of everything that we just mentioned are happening in so much isolation. I think
Right. Yeah.
there's, for example, CDAC Bangalore itself. I believe is have sort of like a sandbox for IoT. Some I think DOT has a sandbox for quantum technologies, but I think the unfortunate reality is I think we don't know enough
Yeah.
people who use it, right? So um, Ranjit, I want to double click on just a point that you mentioned, right? So you mentioned very rightly so about the need for not just engineers, but much more qualified engineers, right? If you
Right.
the topic specifically mentioned about AI security, quantum, these are not something that you can teach in a class and then we expect people to learn, right? So if one has to, for example, relook at learning as a whole, right? So how should we relook at learning so that we make people ready for deep tech, I mean engineers, or imagineers who will build a startup, right? These are not something that can be just taught in a classroom as a
Right.
standalone things, right? So how do we do
Right.
that?
I think so. The the deep tech cyber talent is still a bottleneck, right? We all know that,
Mm,
right? And
mm,
we have good numbers, but as you rightly said, that we have to consolidate that and we still have not enough specialists, right? For example, OT ICS, right? You have worked, I have worked in analog. I still see that there's a huge talent gap, right? And the kind of the transition happen, especially from attacks perspective, right? In some of these critical sectors, right? We still see players in the OT players, the OT environment itself. They still want to continue with the legacy, and when you want to continue with legacy, obviously you can hide yourself, for some time, but I mean, you have to sort of uh, update yourself with the new technologies and update yourself with the new programming softwares, right? So probably we'll have to build this talent, and I see the talent mostly with some of the colleges. I have, in fact, in CySecK, we are what we are doing is that we are going to tier two, tier three cities, and I see
Right.
there's a huge talent there, and we are very confined ourselves, as a organizations like DSCI and CySecK within the tier one cities, right? But Zoho is a classic example, right? Where he went around tier two, tier three, where there's lack of confidence, but there's a huge talent. So probably what we are doing
Right.
is, like I said, we are hunting that talent through our industry-led finishing school course. Where what we do is that we do some boot camps, hands-on boot camps, and hands-on CTF exercises for 2 3 days across cities in Karnataka, and through that
Okay.
process, by mixing it there with the CGPA score and their what score they do during the CTF exercise or challenge, we basically shortlist these candidates, like we have done in North Karnataka. We are doing right now doing in the central Karnataka. We are also done with the Bangalore right now. And other side, we are also working with the industry, that what kind of skill set they need, right? If we have to give you a ready-made talent, right, in cybersecurity. So first is that India as a country first has to sort of address the entry level jobs. Still there's a huge gap there. I don't see there is a formalized way of a systematic way of basically putting that learning curve for these engineers, right? That's something we still lack. Just to give you a very quick update, we are also building cyber range from ground up. You know,
Right. Right.
we
Of
call it
course.
community lab, and that's something. The idea is that through that, how we can shortlist these students and put them on the cyber range through this systematic learning lessons plan, and then at the same time, these lessons or the environment which we are creating them, which will be, which will train them, make them ready for the entry level jobs. And with our research, we have found and shortlisted around 11 entry level jobs in cybersecurity right now. And
Okay.
with that, with that, we our target is that in the first year at least we can create 100 jobs, but by end of 5 years, can we build this to 5,000 to 10,000 jobs only from this particular center, I mean, from cyber range in only Karnataka region, right? Just imagine that if we can,
Scale this.
scale this up to the national level. We have some challenges, but I think so. We have right mix of researchers, team, and architects, who are on board, and we have taken this as a challenge because I've spent almost 18 years, almost 8 years in cyber range business, at global level. I still see that if you have a right platform, unlike some of the American companies, who have very complex cyber range platform, if you have a platform very tuned to India scenarios, then probably if you not only you can address the nation's cybersecurity skill gaps, but also then you can scale it up to the global level. So yes, and then working and adapting those AI technologies or some of these emerging technologies into your cyber range environment will definitely
Right.
help to build this talent, basically. Yeah.
Right. So I think that's Zoho as a very good example, right? I think at least in ministry, MIT and other ministries, I see a real focus and shifting not just from IITs and ISS and premier academic institutions, which are actually doing phenomenal work in deep tech, but also people are slowly realizing, I think, the kind of talent pool and the innovation that is available in the tier two, tier three cities. But you rightly said that you probably need a little bit of they probably need a little bit of hand holding to bring them to the level. And then I think the case studies from CyberSecurity that we have, the people did wonders when they were actually given a
Right.
good platform, right?
Right.
So I think
Yeah, just one add. I want to add
mm,
one point, Teja. I think so.
mm,
We are what we are missing here is also that from a cyber education pipeline for
mm,
India perspective, right? I think we have to start at school level itself, right? We have to build,
mm,
that the environment like gamified challenges to school students, and from there we have to start building, start giving a foundation so that
mm,
they take cybersecurity as a serious subject or domain when they enter
mm,
into when they choose their engineering streams, right? So
mm,
in fact, I just half an hour back I entered my home. I came back from Harvard. We were doing a dedicated women educator, faculty development program, and I
mm,
took one lecture there. I was very amazed to see that none out of 60 women educators knew about MITRE attack framework.
oh,
So there's a huge gap. The curriculum, the methodology, the pedagogy, in our education system
mm,
is has to really come to a level where industry. That's the reason the gap is huge actually, right? So what
mm,
they're teaching and what industry needs, except maybe few IITs or few leading institute, but I still
mm.
see that 99% institutes really have to change their methodology for teaching these advanced topics.
Okay, interesting. See, I think I want to actually double click on what you mentioned earlier, right? I think the kind of innovation that we still have. I mean, given if we do enough polishing with the students, if the mindsets to change, it's important. I mean, we still can see a lot of innovation coming out, right? But uh, want to slightly divulge into another topic that is close to your heart, Ranjit, which is essentially innovation and startups, right? So
Right.
Zoho is one example that you mentioned came from a smaller, I think tied to town, but we've always been seen as talent exporter, right? I think most of
Yeah, yeah.
us, right? So. But you've personally engaged with a lot of startup ecosystems. You mentored startups, you quote them funding and whatnot, right? So, but what does it take for us to go from talent exporters to product exporters, right? So in terms of
Yeah.
cyber security, so what gaps do you see that is really not letting us get there quickly
Right.
enough?
Yeah, I think Teja, that's a pretty good. In fact, one of the areas which is very close to my heart is translation research. And
Mm,
first, the deep tech capabilities. We have excellent engineers. There's no doubt about it, right? India has some
mhm,
of the best engineers. But we need more specialists, right? In
mm,
India, for example, in the area of malware research, OT/ICS
mm,
security, AI threat
mm,
modeling,
mm,
cryptography, and cloud native defense. You know, and these product innovation cannot happen without a strong research spine, right? It's
mm,
very
mm,
difficult. So I think that we need to create that research innovation environment, right? Secondly,
mm,
the market incentive, right? Today,
mm,
most
mm,
Indian enterprises, they still buy the global cyber products, and this is a fact, right? So if the government, especially the critical sectors and some of the large corporate, if they can adopt a trusted Indian cyber stack approach, right, with some procurement incentives, sandbox environment kind of thing,
mm,
early adoption programs, right,
mm,
then we can encourage more students, engineering students, to get into innovation,
mm,
right? And then
mm,
startups will also have a real home market to build for, like how Israel has done, right? That's how
mm,
they build their innovators into entrepreneurs, right?
mm,
And third, I see that the ecosystem risk appetite is something which is very, very important. And these products in cybersecurity, they require very high risk, long gestation R&D, right? Research and
mm, mm,
development.
mm.
And in fact,
Right.
I was in Bangalore Technical Summit, and
Mhm,
most of the IITs and triple IT directors who were there, they saw that why most of the deep tech research driven entrepreneurs are failing, because there's a long gestation period, and to
mm,
survive there have to be enough funds, right? So I still request the VC community, the incubators, right, and some of these state level innovation missions, right, they have to really back these deep tech startups, cybersecurity startups, right? And and not just on these called SaaS clones, right? So these researchers really have to be encouraged, right? So if we have the deep tech capability with right market incentive mix and the ecosystem risk appetite, right? If we get these three pieces right, then I think so India can definitely build on the tech talent and domestic market pull and patient capital, right? So definitely we can absolutely move from our exporting talent, service talent, to exporting world class, world the product side. So that's the difference right now happening. So we need to really focus on research, innovation, and create this some of these incentive programs.
Okay. I mean, am like 100% with you when you say deep tech products needs deep tech research, and deep tech research doesn't come in 1 year, 2 years,
Yeah,
right? So
it's
I
5
think
years. Yeah,
7, yeah, say five,
minimum,
10, what near,
minimum.
what
It's
not,
true.
and you have to be at it, right? It's not
Correct.
kicharo. You wake up one day and then you can't just do it, right? Essentially, and specialization is also important. But uh, again, so one, if you look at let's say Israel or US, right? I feel there's a very strong pipeline from research to commercialization, right? Even people know
Mhm.
what they're but in India, that is still evolving. Our understanding on how to actually work with academia,
Correct.
what are different models are there and whatnot, right? So that leads to either research dying down or sitting in a paper somewhere, or startups not willing to work with the researchers ecosystem. But what do you think we should do to make this pipeline quite stronger, so that any deep tech research actually has direct correlation to maybe something that will come out maybe 2 3 years down the line? Do you think professor having a startup is a good idea, or do you think essentially there should be some entity like ANRF who would take these ideas and then get commercialized? What do you think we should do as a country to make this research translation happen?
Yeah, I think so. I'll be very frank and very candid. In when I was in ID Kanpur,
Hmm.
and we were working with NCIPC and NTRO, and we had put this proposal, for the national security point of view, that why don't we create, fundamentally a national real-time cyber resilience grid, right? Where
Hmm.
what we are talking about is that. It would be a very very trusted platform where government, the critical sectors, the some of the enterprises and emerging
Hmm.
innovators, right, they continuously share threat intel and the incident patterns and cyber risk signals. And today, if you look at, every organization is defending these cyber attacks in isolation. And
Hmm.
while attackers, they operate obviously as a very coordinated network, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
the as a nation, and our national resilience grid, this which we talked about, we were calling it experience center, would basically flip the equation, right? It would enable early warning of large scale. I mean, it's happening at a certain level, but I still see that it is not the way attackers are doing it in a very coordinated way, right? So this whole grid or experience center where you have this exchange of all these players will basically create, I mean, for us as early warning of large scale attacks happening,
Hmm.
accelerate response, reduce duplicated efforts, typically with various agencies, and raise the baseline and security posture across state sector and MSMEs, right? We
Hmm.
have taken one step at that time when I was in IT Kanpur to build India's first national cyber security capability maturity model.
Hmm.
But again, when it is handed over to the academia,
Hmm.
in isolation, is very difficult. So I know academia would have worked with some of the startup innovators and some private corporates, right, Indian corporates, to build
Hmm.
that. So again, an experience center where some of these collective approach from the various stakeholders when it comes, right, it creates a collective defense fabric, right?
Hmm.
And the kind of force multiplier that can elevate the cyber resilience for entire nation. far more rapidly than the policy or the point solution alone. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. Interesting. Um, yeah. I mean, that's good. So, Ranjit, I mean, one parting question that I have is I think I really admire what you did with essentially giving opportunities for this tier two, tier three students, right? I think that's a noble cause. And then at least our experience with cybersecurity and others, at least on a smaller scale, proved to be very good and encouraging for for these women who come from tier two, tier three cities, right? But um, and you also mentioned about cyber range, but what other things is CySecK doing so that
Yeah.
you have the next gen talent, and then Karnataka as a state has the best workforce. What is it that CySecK what on at a holistic level? What are all the activities that you're doing in addition to this,
Great.
and to these two? That
Sure.
positions Karnataka as a center, as a place to go for cybersecurity.
Yeah, yeah. I'm in fact very fortunate. One is I'll talk about from a research innovation perspective, and I think
Mm,
so. That's one of your pet subject, hardware security.
mhm,
We have some of the very talented researchers in form of the faculties and professors.
mm,
We have built the side channel analysis, the
mm,
FPG analysis, the post quantum crypto algorithms. We have created a
mm,
very good test bed, basically where we can simulate some of these attacks, showcase. That's something which we have invested,
mm,
in this infrastructure, and we would like to leverage this infrastructure for much more to serve on the secure communication, on the post quantum, and
mm,
and with these companies like Bharat Electronics or HCL, any defense contractors, or from a
mm,
national security perspective, and they can test their products. Remember that both of us were trying that initiative, at DSCI as well. So I think
mm,
that's something which we are doing, and very fortunate that we have come to a level where we're going to inaugurate this lab maybe in around next month or so. And even if
mhm,
DSCI has some of the initiatives, we can obviously sync up together and synergize on taking this cybersecurity, area, right, in cybersecurity.
yeah,
That's one area
yeah,
which we are doing. Second
mm,
is that from a cybercrime perspective, countries losing almost 25,000 to 30,000 crores.
mm,
So it's a high, time that we have to upgrade technology, how cybercrime is investigated, how the crimes are detected. So with my 1 year, time I spent in IT Kanpur for one of the Microsoft CSR research fund, which I
mm,
used and worked closely with the cybercrime, professionals in Telangana police. So
mm,
that experience I'm leveraging, and with one of the person himself from Microsoft, he's advisor. We have now put a proposal to, create a unified solution for cybercrime, for
okay,
investigation, for detection, for exchanging, for proactive hunting, these
mm,
criminals, right? So
mm,
obviously using agentic AI, right? So that's something we have put that proposal to the Home Secretary and the IT Secretary.
mm,
Hopefully, we'll get the funds and we'll start working on that. Then
mm,
apart from that, I think so we're also trying to help MSME sector, trying to
mm,
see that how we can make their networks or their data more secure, how we can make them resilient, because they also are not very bothered about cybersecurity, but because MSME is a critical sector for us at the state level,
mm,
so we are
mm,
helping them as well, right?
okay,
Last but not the least, across government, I see there's a huge weakness on their IT network, IT
mm,
infrastructure. So
mm,
one is that we are building awareness and workshops, across various government, state governments departments. You know,
mm,
in fact, just imagine the state government department are using Gmail, right, for their and they don't even have the official email ID, right?
mm,
So that's something which so we are, and then they're not even bothered about what firewall they have, right? So easy,
mm,
very easy for any attackers or any adversaries to attack these state governments. And I'm just Karnataka itself is a one of the IT leading capital, I mean, state. Just imagine how the other developing states condition would be. So what we are
mm,
doing is that we are trying to enhance the awareness through some
mm,
of the couple of hours workshop, at all level, right? Secretary level, under secretary level, GM level, and also at a lower level, right? So these workshops we are doing, and then we're also trying to see with advisory, how we can build, do a comprehensive audit of these existing, cybersecurity, whatever infrastructure they have, and help them on how they can fill this gap and, address their, weakest link, and make sure that they're more resilient for these, future attacks, or if somebody is trying to sort of, leverage and exploit their vulnerabilities, right? So we're trying to do this. It's very difficult and challenging, but because we also have a limited bandwidth. But luckily, in leadership, I would like to mention that our honorable IT secretary, who has just newly joined, and also managing the headcare kits, both of them are very, very supportive, encouraging, and they have
Okay.
extended all help that whatever it needs, right? To one is building skill, and also to help startups. So we also have acceleration program, for our startups. So we have 6 startups shortlisted for this year, whom
Yeah.
we are
Yeah.
also trying to help and enhance, go to market, and give them a platform where they can showcase their technologies to industry, through closed CISO forums, to some of the events, like we are bringing it to AIS's event in Delhi. Recently, we had a stall in Bangalore Technical Summit. We also participate in GITEX Dubai. So wherever we can, we're trying to leverage those events, and bringing these startups along, and showcase their technologies. These are some of the
Okay.
initiatives which we are doing actually at CySecK.
Okay, I'm pretty sure there'll be a lot more to talk about. I mean, given that
Yeah,
there's a paucity of time here, for
yeah,
the audience who are listening to this conversation, Ranjit and I will be there at ASS, which is happening from 3 to 5. And these startups that Ranjit has mentioned about, I think, had a look at their profiles. They are doing some phenomenal work. So I invite all of you to come join us for ASS. And thanks a ton, Ranjit, for such an insightful discussion. I certainly learned quite a new things with respect to how to actually go to this grassroots level, and then do it, and what we need to do differently to commercialize this technology set and deep tech from an academia level, right? With that, thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to seeing you at ASS 2025, all of you, and to you
thank you.
specifically, Ranjit, as well.
Thank you so much, Teja. Really appreciate, and glad to be back here. And really, I was very happy to sort of share my perspective and experience. More than happy to sort of help the ecosystem, whether it's startups or even young engineers. Right. Thank you so much, and looking forward to see you
Thanks.
in AISS. Thank you.
Yeah, bye.